Cell phone at 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call our briefing session to order. The first order of business on the agenda tonight is item number 1, which is to discuss the agenda item.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilmember. Tonight on your consent agenda, the first item 4A are the consideration of the minutes for the regular meeting on July 18th and the budget meeting on July 18th. Second item on your consent agenda is item 4B, which is authorizing procurement of cell phone services from Cellco Partnership, and this is through a Texas Department of Information Resources contract. And this is to provide cell phone service and equipment for staff and for our utility billing, public safety, and water SCADA system. Item 4C is a resolution accepting a contract for the purchase of cardiac monitoring defibrillator systems from Physio Control. This is through a grant that we received from the Assistance to Firefighters grant. It has a 10% match from the city, and so this is procuring those LifePak cardiac monitoring and defibrillator systems and 4 CPR compression devices. It was about $200 over the grant amount, and that will be funded out of reserves in the fire department.
I have something on consent on the minutes.
Okay.
The part that was written about what Wesley Jameson said was totally incorrect and convoluted. He spoke in opposition to a 20-year TIF and to redevelop a small area. I've got it all written here.
Do you have a change? Do you have something that you have written to provide to us?
Yeah, I believe that was correct. He referred to that small area north of 20. And, I believe he did say 20 years.
And he wrote this should be received as the Camp Wisdom TIF, not the I-20 Service Road TIF. He said that also. And projections for increased property values are overly optimistic and are all increased property taxes value should be applied to the general fund.
Not that I agree with everything that he said,
You don't have
but this
to.
is what he
There's a
said.
public
This is basically what he said.
So if you wanted, if y'all would just then make a note to approve the minutes as amended with that amendment.
Does anybody disagree with the
No.
wording on it? Okay. So the motion be made as amended.
Item 4D is a resolution approving an agreement with Dallas County. This is our annual mosquito ground control contract. The terms are the same. It's $185 an hour for mosquito spraying. We have budgeted funds for that. It's hard to tell year to year how much we'll end up spending. Depends on how many mosquitoes are found with West Nile and the areas that they intend to spray.
Well, if I read it right, so we didn't have any this week or this past week?
We've had two sprayings so far this year. And also, last year, if you recall, the typical protocol was to spray on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday nights. This year, they've only been spraying Thursday and Friday nights. So if they continue to do that, then our cost should be a lot less than last year.
Well, they did, they found it just as effective just to spray twice.
Those are all of the items on the consent agenda. On the individual consideration items, the first item for 5A is to appoint a member to the Sister City Commission. This was an item that was tabled from your last meeting so that y'all could consider other individuals.
What about the individual we've been receiving the emails from? Are we gonna?
He was here last, that's what was here last week.
Yeah, he came in, at our last meeting, so as I told him when I talked to him, this is kind of a get for us to look at people, kind of put faces with, you know, so,
Well, I mean, we could interview him. If that would,
if you want to, but do you have a couple hours? I'm being honest.
Well, I think we kind of, about the process of elimination, because he's not a resident of Duncanville, he lives in DeSoto, doesn't he?
Yes.
we have 2 other members in DeSoto on it.
Those were the 2 that I asked to be put on there because they had carried the program forward while it was really not operating, and I felt that they were an integral part of the program, and they just moved to DeSoto. Well, just about a year ago, but they're long-term residents of Duncanville, had their offices here, had a 2-acre lot, their kids had grown, so they retired and moved into the condos next to the Thorn Tree Country Club, so they're just right across the golf course from Duncanville, so I felt like they were an integral part of it, that's why I wanted them specifically to be on the committee.
I just didn't have a problem interviewing him, if that's what he wanted.
Well, we got to vote on it tonight, it's on the agenda, so, and he's not here right now, so I guess he'll show up at the council meeting. It's up to council. But for the sheer fact that we were attempting to, as much as we can, put people from Duncanville on there.
Did anyone tell him about the interview process?
No, ma'am, I did not put him on the interviews processes. He talked with y'all the meeting before. I didn't think I did.
What's the council's feeling with it?
Glenn Rupp came off, and that was who Dennis appointed, and so I was just gonna go with his recommendation.
You know, we had each council person
Yes,
had
so
an
that was
appointment,
yours.
and that was Dennis's appointment.
Yeah, and
Someone should have told him that.
He was
I
told.
think they did come up last week.
He came last
Or 2.
week, but he
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
understand that because he talked to me after the meeting too. So
Okay.
he didn't understand that, and I'm sorry, I forgot that, or I would have said it, but I didn't remember that.
well,
I just didn't want-
unfortunately, I'm gonna have to leave tonight before the council meeting, so I won't be here, so. That's why I'm being quiet right
That's why you're being quiet?
now. Yeah.
Well, make me come over there. Well, then that was, we should have said that to him.
He was
That was
told
his
that. He knows
appointment.
that.
Oh, he does?
Yes.
Well, I didn't get that from his
Well, he
emails.
knows that.
I thought that, he just thought that we were interviewing, he didn't get the opportunity, and I thought,
So,
okay, well, you can.
okay.
But I kind of see this, we're filling a vacant position, and this isn't, you know, we're not doing this at the next meeting where we're appointing all the boards and commission members. This is a special deal, and I didn't see that it needed to go through that process of the interview, since we already knew him. And-
Well, since you got to appoint someone from your district, that overrides everything, because we all got to appoint someone. And if that's the person that you chose, that's the person you chose. And I don't think you need to defend that to us. That's who you chose.
Okay, everybody happy?
Yeah.
But again, I won't be here to vote tonight.
He's using his excuse, he's gotta go catch a plane. I want, would you turn in your ticket when you get back? So
We can find you then.
Item 5B is for council to appoint liaisons to the various boards. We provided y'all the existing board liaison and board sheet, so you know when those meetings are. that's up to y'all what you want to do on that. And I think
Did you-
you've already said you wanted to, and Dennis has already provided info.
I provided already
Yeah.
the information.
Did you ascertain whether Chad Jackson is going to be able to fulfill his commitment to the city with these?
I don't think we've contacted him yet, have we?
Hasn't responded.
He hasn't responded yet.
Did he move, did he?
Yeah, I know he bought a house in Cedar Hill.
We've been trying, we've contacted him, we just haven't gotten an answer back.
So,
We're gonna try to have an answer for you before the next meeting when you're making the board and commission
yeah, so
appointments.
heads up, Mary Faye is the only one on the multicultural commission that wanted to be reappointed, and we didn't, it was an oversight, we didn't slot her. So I would just like to reserve that spot for Mary Faye Camp on the multicultural social engagement committee.
Okay. On item number B, are you ready to make a commitment tonight on which boards you would like to serve? If you can.
Can we do that, the next one?
Well, you would just have to reschedule this meeting to the next meeting. I mean, this agenda item.
Oh, that's all that is city council? I thought it was that we were voting on the
No,
boards.
it's city
No,
council.
The appointments that
Yeah.
will be on the next agenda, this is for, you know, to appoint yourselves to the board as leaders.
Oh, so we could have listened to an interview.
Wouldn't this be better to do at the retreat?
Well, the retreat is later on in the year. It would be after, our retreat would be after the beginning of the new year.
I know which ones
Do we just tell you which ones we want, or how do we?
Sure, that's all we need to do.
I want to be on the social engagement
Okay.
and the economic development.
Okay.
I want to be
You've
on.
got Dennis, you've
I wanna
got
be on
mine,
the TIF.
Patrick's.
I want to be on the TIF.
You want to be on the TIF?
Uh-huh.
Anything else?
Well, yeah, I had kind of thought about the economic development.
We can have more than one on the economic development. Would like to get some coverage on some of these lesser boards.
I want to be on the parks and the neighborhood vitality and also the TIF.
Okay. Make sure Claire gets all those down. And you can always come back and say, I would like an additional board to serve. That's Dennis is cleanup guy.
That's just got. That's just got.
Well, one thing, Economic Development Board will now have 3, and
Brennan?
that might be too many. So I can take my name off it. If they want to be on it. We don't have more council there than board members.
Are you already on the economic?
But I'm okay. I'm on several others as well.
Yes, it's got the list in it.
So would you take yourself off?
Economic development, 4 big boards.
Take yourself off?
Yeah.
Yeah, I put my name on. You want to take your name?
And I know that Dr. Dotson was on the library, senior citizens board, and Keep Duncanville Beautiful.
Okay, so, right now what I have is Councilmember Thomas on Parks and Rec Board. Don't have anybody on the Animal Shelter Board.
I don't think we really need that, because it's just 3-member board. And Chief's there.
Chief's on, yeah, he's the staff person. Councilmember LeBlanc on the Multicultural Social Engagement Partnership. Councilmember Thomas on the Neighborhood Vitality. Councilmember LeBlanc and Councilmember Jameson on the DCEDC. Councilmember Jameson on the TIF. Councilmember Schwartz and Councilmember Rutherford on the Planning and Zoning. Councilmember Schwartz and Councilmember Rutherford on ZBA. Councilmember Rutherford on Library. Mayor Green and Councilmember Schwartz on Sign Control Board. Councilmember Dodson and Mayor Green on Keep Duncanville Beautiful, and Councilmember Dodson on Senior Advocacy Commission.
Does that cover all of them except,
I has to be on the
Yeah,
TIF
she
also.
was-
Oh, TIF, I'm sorry.
We got a representative on each board.
Yeah, I'll be on the animal control. They don't even meet very often, do they?
I don't know where the chief.
Chief's down there.
Oh.
How often do they meet,
How
Chief?
does the animal control board meet?
Quarterly.
That's about Okay, we got the list.
Okay,
And so we just-
good.
You want me to run through it then when we're in the meeting and then y'all can vote?
Yeah, we can vote on that. And if you see another board you want to be on, we'll add you during the year. Very gracious, we add you to anything you want to be on.
I find that
Show up.
just showing up, just as good. I've never been restrained or constrained not to go to other meetings.
Yeah, no, you're free. They're all open meetings, so,
I mean,
Just have to be
as far as
careful
being
with quorum.
welcome.
That's the
the
only
quorum
thing.
having
Oh, yeah.
4 people there, so,
As far as being welcome.
yeah.
Have we ever had 4 people show up
Show up
at
at
a
a
board
board.
meeting?
Maybe economic development, something like that, if we had an issue. But that would be a real rarity.
Those are all
Okay.
the items on the agenda.
Okay, then, item number 2A is to receive presentation of small MS4 stormwater quality permit and storm drainage utility system rate study with Freeze and Nichols.
Thank you, Mayor. Honorable Council, I'd like to introduce Trey Shanks from Freeze and Nichols, who typically gives this presentation, and he'll be giving it again this year.
Excellent. Thanks, John. If it's okay, I'll stand right here.
Sure.
Okay, and I think, I'll do this manipulate the slides. I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone tonight. Each year I come to y'all and talk about everything you're doing on the water quality protection. I'm going to roll that in with this, but this is really also an opportunity to update you on the evaluation we've done on your stormwater utility fee. We're looking at ways to improve the equitability of your fee structure. So I'll touch on both of those. They're both stormwater related. And just quick refresher on that. Stormwater services in Duncanville covers everything from the water quality protection that is really a mandate from the federal and state governments, so EPA and Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. And you've had a program in place for about 10 years now, and have implemented it and continued to update and maintain that. And I'll talk about that just a little bit more. Drainage capital improvements. You have a 1999 stormwater master plan that identified a lot of capital improvement needs throughout the city. And so that's something that most cities have and continue to work on to knock those out. Understanding what your storm system is and what the condition is to do proper maintenance of it, take care of it, that's another current ongoing need. And floodplain mapping, you can see that that map there at the bottom is where, when it rains hard and you get what's called, say, a 100-year event, that 1% annual chance event, where does the water of the creek inundate? And that gets to flood insurance issues, you have flood homes, flood roadways and the like. So something that is an ongoing need and responsibility of the city, and John handles that well for your floodplain administration. Some quick examples of some of the infrastructure protection and just conveyance ideas you got. On the top left, you see that large, what's called a bag wall. So concrete bags are stacked to help keep the creek bank from eroding. You've got an ongoing project program where you do a cost share with residents or property owners in general, a certain amount each year that it's a 50-50 share to help with erosion needs like that. There's an alley improvement program as well that where you've got failing alleys because of drainage issues to upgrade those, and you see that on the bottom left as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk quickly about the MS4. This map in the background shows North Texas. And everywhere you see purple, green, or yellow, those are, every city that's within that is subject to these, what's called the municipal separate storm sewer system requirements. Okay, basically, where stormwater goes, as it goes in the creek, the city has a responsibility to make sure that the stormwater runoff is clean as it goes into the creek. So Duncanville is one of many cities, and most cities in North Texas that are subject to this. And you got an activity-laden program in place, and that's the approach for it. So reaching out to the public, educating them what they can be doing to minimize the impact of stormwater, inspections of your system to see where where there's unauthorized discharges and taking care of those. Construction site activity, development. Number 4 is that post-construction is making sure development is done in a way that's protective. And then number 5 is taking care of your own properties and facilities, maintenance yards, vehicle service center, and the like. So real quickly, just some key successes over this last year. There's 190 cubic yards of bulk waste. You get a couple cleanup events each year. You're doing an ongoing street sweeping. That's keeping the material from washing off into the creek. So that's being collected and properly disposed of. Same thing with the inlets. As it collects in there, there's another 133 cubic yards that's been pulled out of that and properly disposed of. You've got ongoing engineering reviews to make sure that the design is done in a way that's protective of that. And as you've maintained in the past, your creeks that you discharge to do not have impaired water quality. So you're doing a good job of that, and not all cities are able to say that, so hats off to you for that. So what's coming up now is TCQ and EPA are pushing for more of a fleshing out of your stormwater program, wanting documented procedures, training of staff, very transferable program that as staff changes happen, that the program doesn't go away with it. Making sure that contractors who are doing work for the city are held to the same standard as your own city staff. Okay. Maintaining your storm system. You need to know where your storm system is, what your assets are, to be able to do that. So that's one of your near-term needs is inventorying your system, getting a handle on what your condition of that is so you know what your maintenance requirements are, and having a documented program for doing that ongoing maintenance. You're right now in the 4th year of a 5-year permit, and then of course TCQ will roll right into the next 5-year permit. So they are drafting this upcoming permit now, which is expected to be fairly similar, but we'll have, of course, some more requirements on it. So we'll keep you posted on those, especially as they affect your budget or your staffing and the like. Okay, so I'm going to switch over now a little bit to talk about, we've been, Freeze Nichols has been doing an evaluation of your stormwater utility fee. You have had a stormwater fee in place that the revenue from that is dedicated to only stormwater uses. Okay? And this is something that follows state law, Local Government Code 552, that enables you to do that. You've been applying that for quite a few years. Right now, where the stormwater revenues go to is your drainage administration. So most of that goes to paying for staff, street sweeping, doing the operations and maintenance that you've got. That bag wall program I mentioned, the the alley program I mentioned, and then what's left, there's what would go towards CIP. There's not really a significant amount that's applied to CIP, just the revenue isn't there right now. Okay, so what I want to talk about is, what's really generated all this is that your fee structure is something that was a little bit of a concern from an equitability standpoint. Local Government Code 552 requires that the storm utility fee be non-discriminatory, reasonable, and equitable, and based off of drainage service. So just like your water usage, the more water you use, the more you pay. Okay? So right now, your fee structure for your stormwater fee is every month, every residence, so every residential property pays $3.50 a month. Every apartment unit pays $1.30 a month, And then commercial properties pay anywhere from $10 to $35 in $5 increments based off of the size of the parcel. Okay? Churches and schools are essentially treated like residences. They pay $3.50 per month. And that generates about $658,000 each year that's applied solely to stormwater services. Okay. What we looked at was that, you see that graphic on the right is a real common proxy for evaluating stormwater usage is the amount of hard surface, the impervious area. So rooftop, pavement, that increases the amount of runoff from that property to your storm system that you've got to manage. So we did an evaluation. If you recall, last year we done a cursory evaluation of that and gave you some feedback. We've now gone back and done a detailed property by property evaluation for all the commercial properties to see what the effect of that would be. So we've identified the impervious area for each property. We identified what the average amount of impervious area is for each residence. Okay, it's 3,700 square feet. So it's not how much living area you've got or even the size of your house. It's the house, the rooftop overhang, driveway, patio, a shed out back. On average, in Duncanville, it's 3,700 square feet total. And what we looked at is if we switch to an impervious area basis, leave all residential properties at one, what we call an ERU is this equivalent residential unit, so the average house. Each residence was paying $3.50, keep them at $3.50 because they're one ERU, and then adjust all the commercial properties based off of their actual impervious area, what that would do. It adjusts the revenue from the residential, nothing changes. Their fee changes not a bit, the revenue from that doesn't change a bit. From the commercial, because you're changing the rate basis to this equitable approach, it does change the overall revenue. And you see that $900,000 would be the effect. I want to show you some examples of, from specific properties, how that affects things. On the left, this is currently how things are set up. So the residence is on the left, there's a house, paying $3.50 a month. That property in the middle, you see it's that yellow outline is the parcel boundary, the blue is the impervious area. On the current approach that you have in place, only the yellow boundary matters, so the size of the parcel is what matters. So it's in Tier 4, it pays $25 a month. And then the property on the right, again, the blue doesn't matter, just the yellow boundary matters, and it pays $35 a month. And what you see is it's 170,000 square feet for the middle property, 700,000 square feet of parcel size for the property on the right. Okay, with this modified approach, the residence stays the same, still $3.50 a month. But that middle property now is based off of the blue shaded area. So its fee was $25. Now it actually goes down a little bit because it's based off of the actual amount of impervious area, and it's 7 average houses of impervious area. And that property on the right, you see its fee adjust significantly. It's about $585 now. So there's a significant adjustment there, but there's also a significant amount of impervious area.
What happens with, like the one on the right, generally speaking, when it was constructed, they had to build some type of retention pool? How does that play?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And different cities have different approaches on that. So some cities don't factor it in at all, and other cities account that and provide some offset credit. So instead of $585, we'll say, well, because you have an on-site detention facility, you'll get a 20% reduction because the amount of runoff, or at least the peak flows, are less than what they would be. That's a good question. Okay, so just a quick summary of that. For these 4 properties, you see, that small business, it was $25. It would actually go down a little bit. A medium-sized business, say a fast food restaurant or something like that, $20 would go to $50 and change. And then more towards the big box grocery store and the like, you see those adjustments. So your current tiering is anywhere from $10 to $35. And what this impervious area approach does is it just bases off the actual amount of usage. So there is an adjustment there. Okay, so that's that property. Again, so this property here is to $52 from 20. I'm going to zip through this a little bit. Okay, so you see that this is mostly impervious for that property, and so that's runoff that's not able to infiltrate into the ground, or precipitation that can't infiltrate into the ground, and it's additional runoff. Okay, so what does that all mean? You know, going from $30 to $585 is a significant difference. Let me show you. I'm going to show you 3 charts. This one's for residential. We'll do a small business and then a large business. For residential, if you took that house in the picture and stuck it in each of these cities, and I know it's hard to read the specific cities, but these are all North Texas cities that have a stormwater utility fee. That house, if you put them in, you know, anywhere from Capel on the left to Watauga on the right, they pay anywhere from $1 to $12 a month. Okay, y'all are at $350. So you see you're at the lower end of the scale in North Texas. And the fee doesn't change for residents with this structure adjustment. For a small size commercial, you see that you were at the near lowest end of the scale, and that, which was the purple one bar, and then that yellow bar, you see that it goes up, but it's still on the lower third of the overall spectrum.
The purple is what we have now, and the
Yes,
yellow
sir.
is the projected.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I should explain that later. Yeah, so purple is where you are now, yellow is what the projected would be with this fee structure modification. And then for the large, big box, you can barely see the purple there is the third one from, or fourth from the left almost really. It's the purple, then it's, you know, very low. And then the yellow still, you know, below the median of that. So significantly more than what it would be or what it is now, but relative to what, you know, a big box is paying in other cities, still on the lower end of the spectrum. And just as a refresher on this, you know, because there's state law that specifically sets this up and allows for provides the guidance for it, just a reminder of what can be exempted, is exempted, and cannot be exempted. On the left are types of properties that cannot be charged, and y'all are not charging. Okay? So undeveloped property can't be charged, state property and the like. The property in the middle, the column in the middle, which is allowed to exempt, you are currently exempting city property, and you currently are exempting county property. Excuse me, school district property and church property is not exempted, but it's got a limited rate. It's at $3.50, you know, regardless of the size. So it could be as big as a big box, but it's going to pay $3.50.
Why
So
is that?
it was just a policy
State law.
decision. Yeah.
What, is that city policy?
That was yours, yeah, so that was a Duncanville city policy,
policy.
yeah, decision. So that
So
middle
it's not a
one.
state law?
No. Yeah, the middle
Schools.
one, yeah, so exempting city and county was, all of those are city choices. So each city by law has the choice to do what they want to do. And there's a mix. There is no steadfast way that every city exempts themselves. I mean, some cities pay their own rate, some don't. Same thing for county, school, it's all across the board. So what Duncanville has chosen to do is exempt fully city and county, and to do a rate limit on school district and church property. So that's just how it currently is.
I love that middle one, last item. Their customers, is that what you?
So, yeah, so closed cemeteries, you now have a choice.
No more
The
customers.
That's right. Okay. So here's one of
How
the
do you
things.
get money out of them,
No.
those customers?
Right now, from the total amount of revenue that is generated from the stormwater utility fee, about 3/4 of it comes from residents, okay? And 1/4 of it comes from the commercial businesses. If you look on the right, that chart on the right where it has 52% residential, 38% commercial, that's representative of the use of the system, okay? So where residences are paying about 3/4, they're using about half of this, of the storm system. Commercial, 26%, or used about 38%. So, and you see that, you know, city schools and churches are, you know, 2 to 6% from a use standpoint.
Wait a minute, you're saying schools don't use it?
No, yeah, so this is really just like a you know, a total of the amount of impervious area. So whether they pay or not, they're using it. So,
They are using it.
right. Yeah, so the stormwater runoff from a school or a church, it still goes to the city storm system.
Right.
Right, whether you pay for it or not. So that's what that chart on the right.
And how does it figure, do you still consider it a business if it's an empty building?
Yes.
So you're charging.
Somebody owns that empty building.
I know they do. I'm
Yes.
just questioning, do we still bill them like it's operating?
Well, it's on the water bill, so.
If they're not using it anymore?
But they're not using the water that's empty, right?
Well, if they turn their water off.
So they're not being billed.
Yeah, so they're not being billed.
Well, it really depends just on the internal policy aspect. So from what, you know, some cities do is, you know, they will keep the utility bill going just, you know, to the property owner for a stormwater utility bill. From a practical standpoint, most cities, if, you know, use a house as an example. Somebody moves out, you move out of your house and you're moving in a month later, you know, or 2 months later, they don't bother with the administration of doing that. But for some large businesses or, you know, properties that are, you know, vacant for a while, there are quite a few cities that will establish, you know, or make sure to continue charging the fee. Technically, yes. Practically, some do, some don't.
What do we do?
We probably aren't. I mean, when we're talking $35 a month, you know, it's probably more trouble to try to find them and charge them if they're not a water customer already. But if we change the fee structure, well, then that would probably change that outlook, and we'd have to look at it. But I'm assuming on it.
Yeah, if Dennis was right, if they turn the water off and we're no longer charging them for water and sewer, then they're not getting billed. And in most cases, we wouldn't even necessarily know who the owner of the business property is if it was owned by someone else and being used. In other words, if it was being leased out, we might not know necessarily who the owner was because the water account would be set up in the leasee's name.
Well, that might be one of the areas that would behoove them to sell it, rent it, or tear it down. And even at $35 a month, that's over $400 a year. So I think we need to rethink that. Absolutely.
Okay, so real quickly, this is almost the same slide, but just showing with the exemptions. You know, so this actually gets to the revenue comparison and not the impervious area use. So it takes out on the right chart the schools and churches and city property. It just shows where the revenue allocation comes from. Okay, so really to finish up with it, this is how things would lay out. You know, residential is paying $3.50 a month now, and with this modified fee structure, it would still be at $3.50 a month. So a resident wouldn't see any difference on their stormwater utility fee at all. The non-residential would go from that $10 to $35 a month to instead being $3.50 per ERU, or per 3,700 square feet of impervious area. So every individual commercial property would have its own unique rate at $3.50 increments.
And this average annual revenue is $900,000. You're basing that on the number of homes, number of businesses, all this?
Yes, sir. So what we did, we had all the total amount of residences in Duncanville, and then we measured the actual amount of impervious area for every non-residential property to see how much impervious area there actually is. So for every individual property, we tell you what that would generate, and then that's the total revenue that would generate from that.
Okay, so knowing that we have a lot of vacant buildings, then that $900,000 is not a good number because they're not paying.
So that's
Well,
what
we don't know. We don't necessarily know that. They still have a water bill and they're being billed, but that's based on the new rates. The current rates, as he said, is $35. So it's really not that. The total revenue earlier was $650,000 based on our current rates.
Well, I think.
So I mean, we don't know that just because it's vacant doesn't mean that they're not getting billed. don't
But
know
we
how
need to
many there are
research
that are
that.
not. Right, we would research that and come back with that information.
Well, you know, we've discussed increasing those big box stores. They're getting away with murder right now. And I think these charts, especially the bar charts, is pretty good evidence that we're way undercharging them in relationship to what everybody else in the metroplex is doing.
What would
So I
we
think
do with
that's a
that
good
extra
selling
money?
point.
What would we make?
Would go into your capital improvements, stormwater improvements.
Are we behind in it?
Yes.
We are?
We are.
Yeah, we have significantly.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a lot of drainage projects that we could be doing throughout the city that we're not able to fund right now.
Yeah, I think-
I do like the idea of giving some sort of credit for the businesses that put retention systems in.
Yeah, I
Because
agree
some
with
of
you.
them have spent a lot of money to put a retention system in.
Yeah, so we can definitely talk about that. There's straightforward ways to do that, and cities have different approaches for that. Just a straightforward approach to automatically apply it, or a separate approach that if a business wants to apply for it, a straightforward, process to apply for the credit. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Some cities have done it where there's credits for other things beyond the on-site physical structure. So we can provide you all information on that for sure.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to know, is the council want us to look at a phased approach on implementing these rates? Do you want to just implement them? Do you want us to look at phasing them in over a certain period of time? Some of these businesses will be a bigger impact, so just need your all's info on that if you want us to bring them back, something like that, look at it.
Since they're still significantly lower, even if you raise them on the businesses, they're still significantly lower than their surrounding area in North Texas. I don't think that it needs to be phased in. That's my personal opinion. And I think that the bigger ones,
I think, you know, a lot of them operate on annual budgets. I wouldn't be opposed to, say, applying half
We'll give
for
them
the
a
first
heads
6
up.
months
Yeah.
and then going to the full rate after
sure.
a period there, but not phasing it in over a long period
Yeah,
of time.
yeah, give them a heads up so they can budget for it.
Yeah.
The one big box store that
Just
just got a
Costco.
couple times, it's $35 to almost $600.
It's Costco?
Yeah.
Sure.
Per month.
Maybe. It might be possible.
Yeah, what we
Well,
found.
we have no figures, we're guessing.
Right.
What we found with the
I think
large
they can handle
big box that are in other cities, this is just a cost of business, and there hadn't been any.
Well, as long as we don't surprise them.
That's right.
Well, we would certainly do the information and get with them, especially the ones that are gonna see a significant impact. We will contact them and make, but if you wanna phase it in over a 6-month period, or 3 or 12 months, or something like that, or that's, that will be something then that we could talk with them about, and say, this is what the council's willing to do, or this is what we're planning to do.
Yeah, a lot of their budgets are, as was discussed, January 1. So you give them some kind of a break up until January 1, and then they can figure that in their budget.
Yeah, right now, we're not planning to implement these, and we will come back to you anyway with an ordinance to approve these rates, and then we're looking at a January 1 effective date is what we're planning to come back to you before then, make them effective January 1.
So that's plenty of time.
Plenty of time to talk to the big.
Just let them
Yeah,
know
and the
then
sooner
if it's
the
gonna
better.
start.
I mean, after we get budget adopted, that would be the time to hit them and tell them that we're gonna give them 3 or 4 months there. October, November, December.
And who's gonna talk to them?
Well, we'll have, it'll probably be a combination of Jessica and Richard or John, probably John in this case, not and Jessica.
You don't want to, Richard?
No.
You may go and talk to them about water and wastewater.
But I think that with these charts, those bar charts are
That's very good.
pretty damning, that we've not done a good job. So that would be the evidence that you need to present.
And that will give you time to find those businesses that, I bet they aren't paying
We'll
anything.
find out on the vacant.
They have no reason to have water.
Well, you take, like Callaway's Nursery,
Mhm.
they said vacant
Yeah.
for all the years.
Just turn it on.
Yeah.
That might induce that guy to get busy and do something with it.
Yeah, because
We need to do a
It's
lot
all-
of
Yeah,
things
and
like that.
just something too, Justin just mentioned too, to remember also, a lot of the vacant ones that you're talking about being in a strip center, even though you have a vacant space, the whole property is under one ownership, so they're getting billed. So that one vacant space within there is not, we're not losing that. It's the one where it's a single property, perhaps like Callaway's, where they may not be getting billed, but all those other little small ones, if they're part of the larger property, they're already getting captured.
But that one property within the large one's the one that's getting the water bill, correct?
Well, there's.
So you
a lot
wouldn't
of
put it
time,
on their bill,
Depends, I mean, a lot of times it, well. I
and
don't
they
know.
wouldn't be paying it, that
Depends on if
property
they're
owner
separately
would.
metered or how it
that's
works.
going to be a challenge.
Yeah, that's part of
Yeah.
our deal, that
Yeah.
we look, exactly, like you said, was to charge one fee per property. One, you don't want to get into worrying about, well, this, space is vacant within the strip center or not, or also, well, the leasing agreement has changed and this business is doing well and they doubled their space. That's not the, you don't want to get that level of administration, just, that one overall property.
So we may have to look at a different billing mechanism than for the commercial
Potentially.
property.
And you're gonna have to look at, we have a strip mall with a church in it, so the church right now is not getting,
Well, I think what it's saying is if we're gonna go to billing the property as a whole, then it's not gonna be the individual one.
well, their water bill.
But I see what,
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Diane's saying is,
Oh, is
you
the
know,
church
there's-
exempted?
if there's
Yes.
a church in the strip center,
But our discussion the other day was the fact that we were gonna build churches.
But yeah, that was the other, yeah, are you wanting to, right now, we cap them, is that right?
yeah, they pay the same as
As a
single-family
residence.
residents.
I think
So do
that's
you wanna
fair.
cap churches and schools?
Not schools. It's the largest.
Yeah, I don't think we need to cap schools.
Mm,
It's too big.
It is too big. They're putting too much water out.
What do you wanna cap churches at? Small commercial, be $25 or?
Yeah.
We can see what the base rate adjustment would be to put the cap right around there, and maybe I could probably come back with a number.
Yeah, and if you got some limit, you have.
There's a saying that says the power to tax is the power to destroy, and that's why you don't tax, why the United States chooses not to tax churches. But I don't see this as a tax, I see this as a use. And everybody should pay their fair share. So I think everyone should pay their fair share. And I would be against, and I think that a person in a church should agree with that, not to put that burden back onto the residents or someone else.
Either they're gonna pay for the runoff, or we're gonna pay for it.
Somebody else.
Right.
Someone else.
Somebody will pay for it.
I think everyone should pay their fair share.
Schools sure should.
We can look at that, well, and we'll look also and see what Dallas is charging on schools, and some of the Duncanville ISD schools are actually in the city of Dallas, and see what they're doing.
And that's actually pretty easy to look up.
So that's something y'all want, and,
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to make it the same, it's up to you, but it's information.
On what they're charging.
Is there anything
What-
else we
what the
need to
city of
discuss
Dallas-
on this? We've got 2 other agenda items. And we're running out of
Well, we'll
time.
be coming back to y'all then with a rate structure then, and we needed input before we went too far along on this, so we appreciate your input.
Number 2B.
Next item is, wanted to talk with y'all a little bit about some potential improvements, exterior improvements to the field houses. You know, we've been working on the interior, and so for some time, we've been talking about the exterior signage and wanting to change it out. So it's been on hold for a while we were trying to get a naming rights sponsor, so we just moved forward with looking at some different concepts, and so we wanted to kind of talk with y'all about some of that and get your input on it.
Great.
Yes, sir. Mayor, council, Kevin, Paul. We're here tonight to discuss and present a conceptual facility exterior improvement plan. Prior to getting going with that, I just want to say that the interior improvements that we made have been very well received and have made the facility much more better for playability and nothing but rave reviews concerning the floors and some of the other smaller things we've done, some lighting in the lobby and whatnot. So the interior has taken a whole different swing, but now we're here talking about the exterior. And with all the new facilities going up around the community, the Metroplex, we feel it's very imperative that we continue to make facility improvements to compete in the ever-growing sports industry. And with that, we will, behind ours, there you go. Just want to point out a few current field house conditions. If you'll notice some of the things that get us to this point, if you'll notice the roofing area, there's 3 of those areas. All 3 of them kind of look the same. This is actually one of the better ones. Paint chipping, discoloration, it really looks bad. And the area right here is something that Ron will discuss more later, more detail. That's kind of a old school look, and will be much more modern in his plan that he's going to lay out. Right here is not only is this sightly, it's kind of a hazard. Those expansion joints are deep and would very easily a child or adult even could turn an ankle, and so those are all over the front concourse area as you walk into the facility. Some more of the look of the facility. Glue all over the walls right here. Right there is a partial mural that this is came down from the glue that you see. And then right here, this mural here, old and faded and dated. The area back in here, the trees are actually under the shade and the seats are out in the sun. A lot of things like that Ron will discuss in more detail. Some of the new facilities we had mentioned, namely there's 3. Fieldhouse USA brand. They have one in Frisco, Mansfield, and Grapevine. And notice the modern look, the way their facilities are being erected these days are much more pleasing to the eye. You got the new facility going up. I'm not sure exactly where that one is as far as the construction, but there is a new facility coming in the DFW area that will be at the airport, and ran by ex-Major League Baseball player there, Jermaine O'Neal. I'm going to turn it over to Ron now. This is the existing facility, but I want to introduce Ron Hobbs. Ron is the CEO and the of architect and design, specializing in municipal and recreation facilities. Has work done in Frisco, Garland, Allen, and Richardson. Ron Hobbs.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. I'd like to first introduce my partner, Donna. She's an interior designer and I'm an architect, and we work on everything together like this. As Craig said, if you look at the interior of this building, it's an incredibly nice facility. It's very well done. It offers tremendous opportunities to the citizens there. When you look at the exterior, though, the exterior doesn't do the interior justice by any means. So we were asked to come take a look at this, evaluate the exterior, and then propose how to fix it, how to improve it, and then to kind of do an estimate to see what that might cost. And so when you look at this, there's our building, and at the exterior, you'd have to say is just totally disjointed. There's a little bit of everything. There's angled buildings, there's graphics here and there. The landscaping doesn't have a lot to do with anything, and it's interesting that you were discussing impervious surfaces a minute ago, because that is all sidewalk. You have more sidewalk on the outside of this building than you have landscaping. Craig mentioned the seating in the sun. The landscaping and trees are under the covering. And so when you look at this building, what we wanted to do is figure out how do you resolve some of this. And one of the things I mentioned is disjointed. The big building is concrete, and it's kind of 2 colors of cream and tan concrete. It's been coated. The curved surfaces that you see here and here are white, smooth stucco, and then the material that is covered in a lot of places with these murals is a a masonry product that's sort of a faded peach color. So not only is the site kind of disjointed, the fact is that the colors don't even work together. It's just like a little bit of collection of everything. And then that's the main front doors to the building is right here. And what's interesting is if you look at that size building and you look at what should be an inviting entrance, a deep kind of approach to this, what happens? You have all this sea of parking, and so you have this massive amount of paving here that when you walk to the entrance, you have pinch points here that you have to squeeze by to get to the door. So, let's see if I do this the right way. All right, what am I doing wrong here? Right here, okay. What we're proposing, this is the same aerial view, but what we're proposing to do is to get rid of a lot of the paving, add some landscaping, and create some order to this building. You've got these angles and curved surfaces. Well, the curved surfaces here are different radii than the curved surface over here. The angles go back to different points, so everything again is very disjointed. So what we're proposing to do is rework the paving around the sides of the building. If you haven't seen it, you really should see what Craig was talking about, the large joints. A typical joint in paving is maybe 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch wide if it's a brick paver. If it's concrete, it's more like 1/4 of an inch wide. These joints are at least 1.5 inches wide. And it is remarkable if somebody hasn't sprained or broken an ankle simply walking on these. This is something that was done in buildings about the time this project was built and has long since disappeared because of, I think, the danger and the aesthetics of it. So what we're proposing is new concrete paving, sidewalks here, brick pavers to get us to the entrance, to really signify the entrance. Remove the parking spaces here. We have a good amount of parking, so we want to move the parking to the side. There's a sign here that you'll see in a minute, and then create a low masonry wall that defines the kind of the people and the landscape spaces from the driveway and the sidewalk. The trees that you'll see here in a minute provide a nice screen along with a fence to really enclose a patio and make it something that's pleasant to use. What we're proposing to do, and you'll see in a moment, the colors, we have a lot of opportunities. Donna and I have looked at a different series of color combinations, but what we're proposing to do is simply recoat the exterior of the building. The masonry can be stained. The stucco and the concrete currently just has a water repellent coating on it, and it can be recoated with a different color. So you'll see that in a moment. A little bit closer look, you see again what we're trying to do is get rid of a lot of paving and create a wall and some landscaping that brings people in a kind of a gentle circulation pattern around the front door and open up the front door. The lighting, an important feature here, we're proposing that we put pedestrian scale sidewalk lighting with banner arms so that you can add a little light to this. Put landscaping behind the wall, so the wall is more like a seat wall. Gives people an opportunity to sit down while they're waiting. And then landscaping behind that. And you get a feel as we walk up to the building. When you look at, and we're referring to this as option 1, and I'll explain that in just a second. The canopies that currently on the building, we're not proposing to make any modifications, structural modifications to the existing buildings. We're proposing to recolor them, update them, and give them a fresher look. The only difference are these elements here and this element along the top. Currently, if you remember that photograph that Craig showed you, there's a little, almost a 2-inch pipe column that's there at an angle and they're vertical. And then a very, very shallow metal canopy. Then this is what's peeling. So what we're proposing there is to do something that's more in scale with the size of this building. Simply clad the columns, not change them, but clad them to give them a little bit of mass, and then take some sheet metal, basically almost be a gravel guard type of thing, and extend the roof up a little bit to give it a little bit of mass that it needs. The tables and chairs out here and you can get a glimpse of the courtyard. Option one, we felt like, in looking at this, is that all of these items that we're talking about could be done in packages. So it's not an all or nothing situation for the city. As an example, the biggest item that we felt like needs to be done is the site work. That's removing the paving, putting in new sidewalks and new pavers in places. This is on option one, if you were to do the whole project at the same time. Recoating the exterior walls, that's basically what we're talking about there. Furniture for the patio, modifications to the columns and the roof, the masonry walls, planters, landscaping, metal fencing, and an allowance for artwork. So we're just a little under $1.3 million if you did everything at the same time. Option two could be phased. If we did phase one, which is to put in some lighting and do the site work and minimal landscaping, it would look like this. And then if you, future phase, the following year or whenever, add to it. You don't have to take anything out. You simply add to it. I think there's a slide missing there. Jessica, I think we lost a slide. But anyway, option two for phase one, you can see is not quite, well, it's a little over half the price of the total. Option phase two, here we go, would be to simply complete it, and it can end up being exactly what we want with a planter and sign here. There'd be signs on the sides of the building, planters and landscaping at the entrances, the trees in this area, and again the brick pavers. So if you do it in phases, phase one would do the first step, phase two would simply add to it. Phase two, the second part of it, is just a little under $500,000. The biggest item would be landscaping, masonry walls, and lighting and landscaping in that area. Option number three, phase one, bites off a little bit more. It doesn't do the whole thing, but it would build the landscaping, none of the walls. It would do the trees and lighting along here. And you can see the price for that. It's a little bit more than option two, phase one, because we're doing a little bit more work in these areas. And then option three, to finish it out, it would look the very same as the other options where everything is completed. This area here is that metal fence that allows breezes to go through, but it defines the courtyard, and with the trees creates an edge to the property, which it needs. And then there's potential cost of phase two for option three. And then the final slide is that we felt like artwork, some public artwork would be very important on this project. And so this is the same thing with artwork added. There's landscaped areas here where things can occur, pieces of art can occur, a plaza area right here that would be a prime spot for something, and then scattered throughout this area so it would be more. And I think you saw some photographs of what Craig was showing a minute ago, what that could be. Just a few more images. Something, artwork in the center is the entrance. One of the things on this wall, that's again sort of a faded peachy look right now. What we would like to see is more of a deep terracotta, something that's rich in color and timeless in its appearance. And then this gives you another view of some more artwork, the patio and the fence, which is, remember now, it's just sort of wide open. You can see the columns. And this is, again, some of the actual pieces of art that could be there. And this is a comparison of option one if you did everything at once. Option two is phasing it. Option three is phasing it with just different combinations of things, and then the artwork would be added to one of those. And then finally, I'm afraid this slide it looks a little bit like it's the same colors, but this is actually 3 different color schemes to try to use colors that would relate to one another rather than cream color stucco or cream color concrete, white stucco, and peach masonry. So the plan here was to do something that basically was timeless in its appearance in colors that work together. Madonna is incredibly good at picking colors that just enhance each other, and so that's what we're trying to do. The bottom line on this is that if we go forward with this, we will have actual color samples, and you'll be able to see real color. So don't, if gray or tan or something alarms you, don't worry about that at the moment. The colors will be something we can control. I believe that's the last slide.
The funding options on this are there's a multiple of funding options. We can do a bond, do a legal approved expense from hotel motel tax, or innovation funds, which is all can be decided later. But I think the purpose of this presentation tonight is just to ask for your approval to move forward with a more precise and competitive bid package and estimates. And with that, we will try to answer any questions.
I just want to say that I noticed, remember we talked about that sign up there that we have let this group take, and they're putting advertising on that neon sign out there?
On the billboard?
Uh-huh. And you were going to check and see if we had anything in there about no competitors being up there? Because Cedar Hills Recreation Center was up there advertising this past week.
I thought we did.
We did.
And the answer is,
There's nothing.
there was nothing in the agreement. There's not
It needs to be
agreement.
changed. I mean, that's stupid to have a sign over your facility advertising your competitor.
Come on the agreement.
Another 15 years? 20 years, I think.
No.
Those billboard term leases are typically pretty long, so
We
whatever was
talked about it.
done-
I know since I've been on the council, we've talked about it.
Yeah, there's not a competition clause.
But they're for 15 years or 20 years?
I didn't do that, but yes, typically long, billboard agreements are typically long-term agreements.
Who would have done that? Because,
David. I don't know, I'll check.
yeah,
and
let's
find out for you.
check, because that's crazy to have your competitor right over your facility.
We did look at something else, though. I think we looked at whether we could advertise on it, and then they could not keep them from advertising on it. So we'll look at it and pull that agreement again and see. But on this, we wanted to kind of give you some ideas as to what we were looking at. We know that it's a big cost amount, and so we would look at probably wanting to phase this over multi-years. So we wanted to get your all's thoughts on it if you want us to continue pursuing. Looking at some options, bringing back some funding options for you to consider. We're still working, trying to, if we can get a naming sponsor that can share the cost with us on some of this, and having some ideas with exterior improvements will also help us in being able to, I think, have some of those discussions with potential sponsors. So I think there's still some opportunities as well to cost share, but we wanted to get your all's thoughts on this, or if this is something you even want us to look at or not.
I think it's a good idea. I'm liking what I'm seeing, but of course, this is just preliminary, but I would like to see you move forward with it. To see
I want to see the funding though before
Yeah,
we.
because
The options,
yeah.
the vote,
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the town hall, you remember the thing they wanted to spend less on, the top thing was the field house.
Well, a lot of the comments were if the field house is not profitable. And the field house has turned the corner on that, and we are going to have a net profit this coming year. Plus, it's also about the economic impact to the community. And when we did the economic impact study on the field house, we showed that it does generate a ripple effect throughout the community. And then third, this really ties into what your goal is of being a youth sports destination and branding the community. The field house is really our key to youth sports tourism in Duncanville.
And
So
I don't
we
have a
need
problem with it, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. My problem is funding. I want to know,
Right.
can we get
So
a hotel motel tax? You answered that because I
Yes.
thought
We
that.
can use some, we
If we
can
can
use
use
hotel
that, and
motel
we can use
funding,
some
right.
other things and pay for it, then
Yeah,
that's.
so that's what we want to come and
Not
bring
general fund.
someone, no. So we want to bring you those ideas, you know, again, to bond, you know, if we're looking at a bond, this might be something that maybe you want to look at a piece of it being out of that, but we'll come back with some options of funding and show you what we can do.
I think it's, so we're telling the citizens that they're not, it's paying for itself, basically. With hotel motel tax, it's paying for itself. Because you're drawing the people.
Well,
that-
you can't go, I don't think, the full amount,
Say that,
but a
yeah.
portion of it can be.
Well, you
But it
can-
can
I'm
be
talking about
several
the
different things.
combination, yes.
And just let them bring back recommendations and tell us what they can and can't do.
On funding.
Yeah, on funding.
And we'll look at that agreement again and see what we,
Everybody,
but I don't think there's any hope of renegotiating that agreement if it's already in place for 15 years left on the term. I mean,
I can't imagine that we would sign something that long.
those,
Well, it's
my
all
experience has
about
been
levels.
billboard contracts too that I've seen before have been pretty, have been like 20.
They lock it up for a long time
Yeah.
because a lot of times they're non-conforming uses. And if they're not being regularly used, then they lose their non-conforming rights and they lose the right to have the things. That's why they tend to be long-term.
well, if we move on, are you all right for them to bring back financing plan and fund plan?
I
How we can do it?
I have one comment about the design. I really think it's cool that you have that mural where the guy's dunking, because when you're driving down the freeway, you look at it, you know that's basketball. With this one, there's not much, the signage isn't very big. You don't, I don't know that you could get the impact from the street. But that's, I'm not an architect, I'm not a professional, but I'd like something more bolder, something more.
Well, you'll still have the signs up at the top of the hill.
And, but when kids
we
go
don't
in
have
there,
the parking.
when kids go in there, they see this big old guy dumping, well, it's more mature look. So I'm just saying, as a person with kids.
Well, let's let them do
It's so
some
bad.
bring some
We
things back.
don't need to get up very far.
Okay, there's one more item, let's see, what was that?
Yeah, the last item.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's short item.
Yeah, that's the night before the Texas Municipal League Conference, and I know the conference starts at 10:30 on Wednesday in Houston, so I thought y'all probably would want to cancel
So,
that meeting.
are y'all pretty much in agreement that's okay to do that?
No, I hate those.
You're gonna leave at 5 in the morning to get down there and find out.
Hey, we'll cancel it, John X can come down and meet.
Don't hold your breath.
Okay, all right, please go directly into the council. 13, 7:30.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you so much for the privilege of being able to be public servants and to serve the citizens of Duncanville. We ask, Father, for your protection as state and federal laws are being considered even now that impact us. We ask for your protection from those laws, Lord, and we ask that as a state and federal levels and also at the local level, that you would just continue to guide and direct us and to bless us. We thank you so much for the blessings you have doled out on this community, and we thank you for our servant leaders, our elected officials, and we ask that you continue to impart wisdom and grace and respect to them as they debate important decisions that come before this body. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. honor the Texas flag, I pledge the allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. My mayor's report will be short and sweet tonight in that this council's been very busy. A lot of times, people think that the council takes a vacation during the summertime. Not true. This is one of our busiest times because not only do we have to put the budget to rest during the summer, but we also have to do all of our appointments on boards and commissions. And so at this time, we're working on that. And then we're getting prepared for our autumn season, where we'll have everything from council retreats to our journeys to the Texas Municipal League on down to gain some additional training that this council dearly needs. We have to keep up on what's going on. And also for the briefings on what's going on down in Austin right now, which will affect our cities materially if some of the things that are proposed by the governor are passed. So we try to monitor that. We try to plug in where we can to do what we can to protect the rights of our citizens here in Duncanville and not have it controlled by either the federal government or the state government. We work at the pleasure of the state government. We work from a charter that's issued by the state government, which allows Duncanville to be in existence. So any law or ordinance that we pass is subject to the state legislature or the federal government. We can pass any law that we need to pass to make Duncanville work and operate in a better manner. But if it's in conflict with a state law or a federal law, that takes precedence over our law. So we're heavily involved during the summer, and we just want you to know that we are working for you. Council member reports. Councilwoman Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity to address a consent agenda item. We won't be able to discuss it because it's on the consent agenda, but it concerns mosquito spraying. In the past, I have voted against this, and I have tried to persuade the council members to vote against it. But the reality is, it's I think the data would support me in that it's not very effective. And we pay $185 an hour for this mosquito spraying, but to the county. But it is and the reason why I'm going to vote for it this time is because it is the only thing that is being done and that the county is doing. And so we have to do something. So it's better that we do something than nothing. But I'm just saying that it's still on my radar. I'm still advocating for smarter, more effective means of dealing with the mosquito issue. And it is what it is. And the poison is a pyrethrum, which goes inert after a few hours. And when the sun comes out, it dissipates. It goes inert. So it doesn't affect the honeybees, which is one of my concerns. So anyway, I just wanted to take this opportunity to explain my vote.
Thank you. Seeing no further lights, item number 1C is the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I would like to recognize some people this evening. First, I would like to recognize Officer Patrick Deggs, and Officer Deggs is here. He's our security this evening. They're standing in the back. And Officer Deggs was awarded the Enforcement Hero Award by Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MADD, on July 18th at an awards ceremony in Irving. And he was awarded this, given this award because of his work in Duncanville. In 2016, he made 23 DWI arrests, which accounted for almost half of the department's total. So he was
nominated by Sergeant Matt Stogner, and we're very proud of him achieving this award, and it certainly speaks to his dedication to the citizens of Duncanville and certainly for helping to keep our streets safer. So we appreciate that very much, and I wanted to recognize him. Also, I'd like to also recognize two new members of our staff that started yesterday. Our new Public Works Director, Brian G. Ramey, goes by Greg. Greg, if you would stand up for a second. Thank you. Greg has a master's degree in engineering management and a bachelor's in industrial engineering, and he's also a licensed professional engineer in the civil engineering field. He was a director of public works for Camp Arif John in Kuwait. Up until just a couple of months ago, he was activated reserve with the U.S. Army. But his experience as a resident engineer and engineering officer at other military bases in the Army, and as well in his civilian life, he also has a number of years of project management experience with a private sector company and also with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So we're very glad to have Greg on board. Second, I'd also like to recognize Paul Frederickson, our new Assistant City Manager. He also started yesterday, so yesterday was a good day for me. Paul was most recently the town manager for the town of Argyle since 2014, and prior to that he was a vice president for Las Colinas Association for 8 years. He was an assistant city manager in Colleyville for a couple of years, and then also city administrator in Shenandoah, Texas for 7 years. He began his public sector career in the city of Dallas as a planning technician. And he has a master's in city and regional planning and a master's in public administration. So I'm very glad to have both of them on board, and I know that they're going to bring a lot to our team and working for the citizens of Duncanville. So appreciate them being here. Thank you.
Item number 2A is proclamations of Keep Duncanville Beautiful, the August 2017 Business Beautification Award, plaque and proclamation to the Super Mercado Monterey, located at 435 East Daniel Dale Road. We're very happy to see them open. I was wondering when it would happen, and it happened very quietly, but they are open, folks. They're a great place to shop, so we'd encourage all of you to go down and check them out. So at this time, I'll come down and we'll present this. Timothy Hamilton, our Parks Director, will come down, and we have two folks here tonight. Timothy, I'm gonna let you introduce these two folks, if you will.
All right. We have Isaí Martinez here with us from the Supermercado Monterey, and then also Esmeralda Lopez. Thank you all so much for being here. They're from the store, from the actual store.
They're selling goods at this time.
Yes, indeed. I met Isaí on a couple weeks ago.
I've prepared a proclamation. We also have a plaque for you. You've done a beautiful, beautiful job on the store. It just you took an old store and you've made it brand new. And we're very happy that you're here. Here's the proclamation to Timothy. You present it. The proclamation reads, whereas the city of Duncanville is committed to improving the physical quality of community life, and whereas the Keep Duncanville Beautiful Board was established to promote this commitment, and whereas the mission of the Keep Duncanville Beautiful Board is to empower Duncanville citizens and businesses to take responsibility for enhancing their community environment, and whereas each quarter the Keep Duncanville Beautiful Board recognizes one commercial property within the city for significant improvements to the exterior portion of their property, landscaping improvements, and or long-term maintenance of the property that exemplifies high-quality standards, and whereas the Supermercado Monterey, located at 435 East Daniel Dale Road, has been selected as the Business Beautification Award recipient for August 2017. Now therefore, I, David L. Green, Mayor of the City of Duncanville, Texas, do hereby urge all residents to join me in congratulating the Supermercado Monterey, located at 435 East Daniel Dale Road, and commending this business for contributing to the beautification of our city. Congratulations to you. We have a plaque to present to you and the proclamation.
I'm the son of Ruben Martinez, the owner, and he wasn't able to be here today, but he's very proud that he was selected for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Item number 3 is the citizen input. And I would like to remind you, I have several cards tonight that as I call your name, you can come forward and speak at the mic to the council. And each person who comes forward needs to give their name and address for the records, for the official records. And then you have 2 minutes to speak. So the first one I have is Joel Grona. Is that right, Joel?
Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Joel Gronow. I live at 1345 Wilbur Drive in Dallas, Texas. I wanted to formally introduce myself and inform everyone that I'm running for U.S. Congress here in 2018. I would like to represent Duncanville and the rest of South Dallas County. This body is a nonpartisan group working together to move Duncanville forward into the future. I myself am a nonpartisan independent candidate, and I believe Congress should be nonpartisan as well, moving this nation forward into the future and not left to right, back to left, back to right again, where nothing ever gets accomplished. I ask for this council's help with ideas in improving the city of Duncanville, making it better, as well as informing the citizens of all the great things we can accomplish working together. Last meeting I observed this council debate over a secluded zoning tax or a TIF to improve the infrastructure and the redevelopment of I-20 and Camp Wisdom Road. I'm a strong component of infrastructure and innovation of Dallas, and I have planned for infrastructure and innovation to unite South Dallas with North Dallas to make Dallas County as one. Also, you guys talked about and enacted the Multicultural and Social Engagement Committee. I applaud you on this, and I wish it the best success. I'm a strong believer in equal opportunity, diversity, and grassroots democracy. I think that is key to everything in this government. I would like to sit down with each and every one of you to talk about your district and the city as a whole to improve the quality of life in Duncanville. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about my focus points on the county or policy procedures for the federal government, please feel free to ask. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dario Crosetto.
Respectful City Council, my name is Dario Crosetto, 900 Hideaway Place, DeSoto, Texas. I am a scientist who came here from Monasterolo di Savigliano in Italy, the sister city, 1991, to work for the superconducting Super Collider project. I am the founder, promoter, organizer for 11 years of Duncanville Sister City. I took to Italy Mayor Mayor Glenn Rapp, Mayor David Green, several council members and citizens of Duncanville. The same for the Italian Mayor Antonio Procchietto, dignitary and citizens. For a total 10 trips from 1997 to 2007, thousands of photos may document video, articles in several newspapers witnessed the success of these experiences. The Sister City Committee met several times during these 11 years, mostly at my house, sometimes at Glenn Rapp's house. It was open to anyone interested in implementing its mission. The Sister City International, that is guiding thousands of sister cities around the world, that is a good reference and guide to the world, states the following in regard to the mission, is to promote peace through mutual respect, understanding, and cooperation. So understanding is achieved through the dialogue. And this organization continues. A sister city, a city may have any number of sister cities with community involvement ranging from a half dozen to hundreds of volunteers. In addition to volunteers, sister city organization may include representatives from nonprofits, municipal governments, and private sector and other civic organizations. At today's vote for the vacant position, I suggest to add to the current Sister City Commission both names of Marion Dunon and open the door to evaluate additional application. In the event Duncanville City Council wants to limit at the moment the commission to 7 members, I make a reasonable suggestion that I replace one of the 2 Cherokee family members who lives in DeSoto like myself. This is a reasonable solution because one spouse, after each meeting, can inform at home the husband or wife. And so, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Grady W. Smithy, Jr.
Grady W. Smithy, 1806 Cedar Hill Road, Duncanville resident since 1950, this month, 1950. I come to speak on behalf of a man who I think truly belongs on this commission. That man being Dr. Cherokee, who was my endocrinologist for many years. And probably Dr. Cherokee is probably the reason I'm standing here today, because of the good endocrinology care he gave me, and because of the fact that he's the one that persuaded me to go and get the gastric bypass. That's probably saved my life. I probably would have been gone a long time ago. I hope that doesn't cost any of y'all his vote, but because I'm still here. But I have to tell you that everybody that I know, and he was on the trip, the one trip that I went in 2000, I really enjoyed him. It's a great thing, the Sister City deal, it really is. But he and his wife and his son and his daughter were on, or one of his sons and his daughter were on that trip with me. And they're so popular with those folks over there. I think that he would make a great representative for our city on this commission. Now, the fact that he's had to move a little bit to not have to mow a 2-acre lot anymore, he had to move into an area that I'm not sure whether it's in Dallas or DeSoto or Duncanville over around the country club, shouldn't be held against him. His years and years and years of service here in the town of Duncanville, he and his wife, really I think qualify him as an honorary resident of Duncanville no matter where he lives. So I thank you very much for your consideration for Dr. Cherokee.
Thank you, sir. Linda Grueling, is that right?
Good evening, Mayor Green and City Council. I've been a resident of our beautiful town, Duncanville, for 36 years. I was a former high school teacher as well as Spanish for high school credit at Reed, and 15 years an adjunct instructor for Spanish at Mountain View College. I was a participant also in taking in some Italians for our sister city program. And so I think I'm quite familiar with the wonderful project it is. I know there's been a pause and we have not traveled for a few years. And I know that you've got a a proposal from Italy to do it again. And so I think this is something Duncanville is proud of. I also know that you are appointing a new member to replace our former mayor, Glenn Repp. I think that applications were put in and there were interviews, and from what I understand, I'm speaking in behalf of everyone who's involved, that Dario Crossetto had put in an application but was not interviewed. Dario has been, if not the founder, one of the very first founders. He was the organizer. I have been to the town with my daughter Lisa. She drove me there privately, and the whole town received us all afternoon. I mean, this is a friendship, and friendships don't end. Friendships last. And so for that reason, I'm here tonight, that if you have a member that, a person you would like to appoint, and you have perhaps not purposely overlooked Dario Crossetto, that he should certainly be included in any commission to organize the social activities that are in his hometown. I mean, that's his hometown, Monasterolo de Savigliano. And this is our hometown, and it's a friendship. And I would think it was definitely not courteous to leave someone such as Dario Crossetto out of a continuation. And for that reason, I'm here tonight, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Wesley Jameson.
Mayor, City Council, Wesley Jameson, 1214 Lady Lane. I wanted to make sure that comments I have made in the last meeting were understood and not cloudy regarding the TIF. My opinion about incremental tax revenues in any part of the city are that they should benefit the entire city, not a small area. If we need to devise an incentive plan to help develop an area, which I believe the original goal of TIFs was to help blighted areas, and I don't know that I view that area particularly as blighted, but I think that when there are improvements in any area of the city, especially one the size of Duncanville, 13 square miles, that we need to have all citizens benefit from any of those improvements. TIFs originally were utilized by very large cities to help smaller segments of those cities provide the incentive for economic development in those areas. Since then, California, who was one of the pioneers of the TIF, have made all new TIFs illegal. So, you know, we're kind of coming in on the backside of a financing plan that has already been determined to not be a great way to do things. So my opinion was, and I hope I stated it correctly the last time, was that when there's a benefit to any part of the city, all the citizens of the city should benefit from that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That is all of the cards that I have, so we will then move directly into item number 4. And item number 4 is the consent items, and they're items number A through D. At this time, I'll ask the city secretary to read the captions on those items.
Item 4A, consider the minutes for the July 18, 2017 budget meeting and the July 18, 2017 City Council regular meeting. 4B, consider a resolution authorizing the procurement of cellular services from Cellco Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless, through the Texas Department of Information Resources, contract DIR TSO 3415, in the estimated expenditure amount of $54,000. 4C, consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, accepting a proposal from and awarding a contract for the purchase of cardiac monitoring defibrillator systems, CPR compression devices, and accessories to physio control in the amount of $1,041,875.
Correction on that. Would that be $141,875?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary documents and providing an effective date. 4D, consider a resolution approving and accepting the terms and conditions of an agreement with Dallas County on behalf of the Health and Human Services Department for a mosquito ground control program attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit A, effective October 1, 2017 through September 30, 2018, at a rate of $185 per hour.
City Manager, on item number C, weren't we, isn't that part of a big grant that we got, or a big grant that we got?
Yes, Mayor, that's correct. That was a grant that the fire department applied for through the Assistance to Firefighters grant. We were awarded that grant, and it's a 10% match, so our portion of that is only 10% of the total cost of those cardiac monitor defibrillators.
And according to our fire chief, if I may quote him, this is going to be a major, major thing for our fire department in having this upgraded cardiac machines on board the fire trucks and the ambulances. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
With
Yeah,
the,
Mayor.
Amendments
Yes,
amended.
with the amendments.
Thank you.
We did discuss the amendments to your remarks, and they're included in the regular meeting of what, July the 18th, and they are included as corrections to the minutes. So Chair entertains a motion, and we have a motion
Second.
with the correction and the second. So at this time, seeing no lights, will you please vote? Okay, thank you very much. Item number 5A is to appoint a member to the Duncanville Sister City Commission to fill a vacancy.
Mayor, I nominate Marion Duhan.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. I would like to have a little discussion and an explanation. Each one of our council members were given one vote to recommend to the council. Glenn Rep was the representative from District 1 in Duncanville, and because of circumstances, he's had to resign, and I hate that because he dearly loves the program. But so he was appointed by the council member from District 1, and so it was really the privy of the council member from District 1 to go ahead and make the nomination. And he made the nomination for someone who lived in Duncanville and was from his district. So we're honoring that tonight, I believe, with this motion. So if there's any further discussion.
I'd like to make a statement.
Yes, go ahead.
And that's exactly the reason why I nominated Marion Duhan, because Councilmember Schwartz, that's his choice, and I believe that he should pick the person that is his seat. This is an open meeting. They'll be advertised. You'll know where it's going to be. You'll know what time it's going to be at. It's going to be open so anyone can come to it. So I'm sure that anyone who has any thing to add to it or discussion or want to keep abreast on the sister city, that's why we made it a commission so it would be open. So I encourage you to still attend the meeting. There's nothing, I mean, it's open. It's just as this is open. Just come on in and find out when it's going to be and what time, and just come on in. And that's for anyone and any of our boards and commissions.
Because there was no interview, and instead Marion Duhan, she was interviewed for more than 20 minutes on a public from the city council. Would I have 3 minutes just to talk to the?
I would.
Because I was not interviewed, and I made the application regular like everybody else.
Mayor, I don't mind, but Marion was the only one who came in, and we just had extra time, and she just sat down and talked, but no one else on the committee, I don't believe, were interviewed. Yeah, so Mayor, I don't know that anyone else was interviewed. I don't remember the Shrokes or Glenn Rep ever coming up here, so.
No, we appointed the committee. We didn't have formal interviews, but you had been in, maybe we're getting too deep into this.
Mayor, there's a motion and a second on the floor, so you're obligated to take a vote.
We'll be
or
glad to sit down with you a
debate
little bit
amongst the council members.
Okay. There is a motion and a second on the floor, so at this time, if no one has any further thing to discuss, we'll go ahead. No, sir, not at this time.
Then why do you treat me different from the other?
Well, I'll sit down with you.
That is discrimination. Not fair.
Okay, at this time, seeing no further lights, will you please vote? Okay, thank you very much. Item number 5B is to consider appointments of city council members as liaisons to various boards and commissions, including the Planning and Zoning Commission, Board of Adjustment, Duncanville Community and Economic Development Corporation, Park and Recreation Advisory Board, Library Advisory Board, Sign Control Board, Keep Duncanville Beautiful Board, Social Engagement Partnership, Duncanville Neighborhood Vitality Commission, Duncanville Senior Advocacy Commission, the TIF, the Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone number 1, and the Tri-City Animal Shelter Board. We have indicated, the council has indicated their selection of the boards. So I'll ask the city manager at this time, please read those.
Mayor and council, the liaison or the boards that you chose are as follows. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Councilmember Leslie Thomas. Regional Animal Shelter Board, Councilmember Johnette Jameson. Duncanville Community Multicultural Social Engagement Partnership, Councilmember Patrick LeBlanc. The Neighborhood Vitality Commission, Councilmember Leslie Thomas. Duncanville Community and Economic Development Corporation, Councilmember Johnette Jameson and Councilmember Patrick LeBlanc. Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone number 1, Councilmember Johnette Jameson and Councilmember Leslie Thomas. Planning and Zoning Commission, Councilmember Steve Rutherford and Councilmember Dennis Schwartz. Zoning Board of Adjustment, Councilmember Steve Rutherford and Councilmember Dennis Schwartz. Library Advisory Board, Councilmember Stephen Rutherford. Sign Control Board, Mayor Green and Councilmember Dennis Schwartz. Keep Duncanville Beautiful Board, Councilmember Ron Dodson and Mayor David Green. And Duncanville Senior Advocacy Commission, Councilmember Ron Dodson.
Okay, this is appointment, so the chair would entertain a motion to appoint these council members to the various boards as presented.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Will you please vote? Okay, thank you very much. Item number 6 is staff and board reports. And first one is item number A, receive the monthly financial report as of June 30, 2017.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This report is as of the end of June, and so we like to benchmark our time, and we should be at 75% of our respective budgets for expenditures and revenues. That's just a benchmark that we use to let us know where we're at. At the end of June, we had a general fund ending unreserved fund balance of 10.4 million, which is approximately 133 days of operations, and that's in excess of the 75-day reserve by about 4.6 million. And overall, the general fund revenues and transfers are at 82% of the adopted budget. So we're well ahead of that 75%. But as I like to point out, those revenues coming in from our property taxes, those are earned or received early in the year. So they come in and then we expend our funds over time. Property tax payments are at 99% of the annual budget. That's not unusual for this time of year. And sales tax revenues 8% higher than it was the same time last year. Then this represents April sales tax received in June, or 7 months of revenue. Our building permits have surpassed the adopted budget by about 195%, and that's due to new home buildings and the new motel that we're getting in the process of starting up. And so overall, our general fund expenditures and transfers out are at about 71%. That includes transfer out to the Innovation Fund for $2.2 million for one-time purchase of projects, and transfer out to the Fieldhouse Fund for $115,000 to cover the additional expenses we incurred on the gym flooring. As you recall, we ran into some issues when we took the flooring up for some things that had to be repaired that were unforeseen until we got the flooring up. So this is a graph that I use each and every month. The purple line is if the revenues were earned incrementally, straight line over time. And then the blue line has a previous 3-year average, and then the red line are the actual numbers. And then we take the green line and extend out for the remainder of the year for our revenues. So you can see that our general fund revenues are running well above the 3-year average, and we anticipate that they'll come in at about budget. We look at our property taxes and laser those out. You see that spike in the time frame from December, January, and February. That's when the majority of those come in. And as I said, there's very little more property taxes that are earned throughout the remainder of the year. If we look at our sales tax, you can see that we're currently up above about 8%. We anticipate that by the end of the year that we'll still be running somewhat above where we projected on our revenues, but we very easily make budget or exceed budget. Our general fund expenditures, you see that at the beginning of the year they were charting right along that straight line, which is the purple line, and then you see that during the middle of the year they drop below. So we anticipate that we'll end the year at or below budget on expenditures, which is a good thing. And let's look real quickly at the utility fund. We have an unreserved fund balance of $5.7 million, and that's about $2.9 million in excess of the 60-day reserve. Our water and sewer rates increases, they were adopted in October of 2016. So our revenues are about 11% higher than they were the same time last year. And our utility revenues run a month in arrears, so this data reflects only 8 months of revenue. Same chart as on the general fund. You can see that the revenues start out at the beginning of the year when people typically use less water, and then it's trending very near the straight line, and we anticipate that we will end the year approximately on target for revenues. Again, the utility fund expenditures have been trending all year slightly below that straight line, so we anticipate that if nothing unusual happens, that we'll end the year at or below budget. And these are the Innovation Fund projects. Those that are highlighted in yellow are those that are essentially complete. I'll take any questions.
Councilwoman Jameson.
I was curious about I realize this is the end of June report, and you said the $114,000 on the field house, and we were just in a meeting and said that we'd turned the corner and it was showing to be profitable.
What I was talking about is that we had an additional amount that we incurred when we took the flooring up. We had $500,000 reserved for that. If you recall, when we took the flooring up, we had some unexpected repairs to get that surface where it was going to be even. They had to do some grinding work that we didn't know in the original contract, and so there was an additional $114,000 that had to be expended to get the flooring put in right.
What?
Well, but is this counting against their? You just took it out of the general fund, so it's not going against their profit loss.
Well, it was an influx in, if you will. Yeah.
what I mentioned in the work session was us talking about the FY 2018 budget coming up. We still ran a deficit in this current year. It was a smaller deficit than in the past, and it was a smaller deficit than we originally budgeted, even with the field house being closed for 3 months due to the gym floor replacement.
Where is it? Why haven't we seen it?
Seen what?
The budget for the field house that we were running a smaller deficit, because I haven't seen
Well, we
that.
did. We went over it during the pre-budget workshop.
I don't recall it being a smaller deficit than before. Could we see that at the next?
Yes, I think you had, that was, you had to leave early that day, and so I think you missed that presentation, but we did present all of that. So it should be in the information that we gave you in your binder. But what we were saying, what I was referring to in the briefing session was that the next year's budget, the FY18 budget, we were projecting a small net profit in the operational costs.
Still taking out.
And we'll go over that budget and show you all that in the budget workshop on the 10th.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number B is to receive the quarterly report from the Parks and Recreation Department.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Over the last quarter in the Parks and Recreation Department, we've been very busy. We always start with the slide of the personnel changes, and although you don't see any new part-time staff or new full-time staff on this slide, I would like to note that we do have 3 full-time openings in our Parks Department. That is very rare. In fact, since I've been in Duncanville, I think we've never had more than 1 at any one time. So we're taking this opportunity to look at our operations and see if there are opportunities for improvements for more efficiencies and better working opportunities for our crews to be more efficient and effective in what we do. So next presentation, you will hopefully see 3 shining, smiling faces in our Parks Department. A couple of our work plan items that we've completed over the last quarter. We recently completed the painting for the interior of the Senior Center, and I want to take this opportunity to thank Councilmember Dotson as well as Gail Slager for being our volunteer interior decorators, helping us select colors. In addition to this project, we also have on order new lobby furniture as well as a coffee bar that will be installed at the Senior Center before the end of the fiscal year. We've also recently added a chemical storage building at the Service Center. This allows our Parks Department to store their herbicides and pesticides in a safe manner outside of our building, which is where our previously materials were stored, which was not necessarily the best idea. So we have a new chemical storage building. It has a bottom open flooring. If there are any spills, it's a state-of-the-art. It's really, really nice. A couple of items that aren't necessarily work plan items, but I think are significant improvements we've done to our parks. Within our operating budget, we've recently painted several of our facilities, several bathrooms. Here's an example of the storage building that's at Armstrong Park. In addition, at the Recreation Center, we've recently added a new air hockey table, and we have been without one for about a year, and I had forgotten how loud they are. So I was quickly reminded when it showed up. So we all know about the July 4th success, and I get the privilege of putting this in my quarterly report because the majority of the budget comes from Parks and Recreation, but I would be remiss if I didn't say this is truly a team effort from almost every City of Duncanville employee in some way. It takes all of the departments to pull this event off, and we had a fantastic year. We had approximately 10,000 spectators within the fences, thousands outside of the fences, in neighborhoods and in parking lots, and so I think it's a great addition we brought back to Duncanville last year, and we will continue to move forward with this tradition. A couple of other things we have going within the Parks and Recreation Department. We've talked about this again at the last report. We are planning to transition to a new recreation software within the next couple of weeks. Our current recreation software is obsolete and no longer supported by the company that created it, so we were forced to go out and get a new recreation software, and it's called RecTrack. Our staff is now in the process of currently going through training on that new software, and we'll be, again, rolling that out in the next 2 weeks. We also had our Easter egg hunt and our Memorial Day program, which is always a big success. Some of our upcoming events, something we don't typically mention, but we've always done. I thought it'd be kind of neat to add this quarter. We stock Lakeside Park with fish throughout the year. We're part of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Urban Fisheries Program. And just about every month of the year, we stock Lakeside Park. We're currently stocking it with catfish. In the winter months, we actually stock it with trout. So just a little reminder to all of our residents that we have fish going in at Lakeside Park every other week. We do not stock it during the month of August. It's too hot. There's not enough oxygen levels in the pond at that time, so Texas Parks and Wildlife takes August off, but it will be restocked again in September and October. We also have our Boo Bash coming up on October 27th, and it's never too early to start talking about Christmas. So our Christmas parade will be held the first Friday of December every year. That will be December 1st this year. And lastly, I'll say a few words about our park master plan process. We are currently in phase 2 of that. Phase 1, again, included a couple of community meetings. We had an online park survey in which we had 490 respondents, and I will brag, and then we had just a couple more than the comprehensive plan for that survey. So I'm really proud of that. And then we're currently working on the action plan and the implementation plan. I want to say kudos to our park board and our park master plan steering committee who've worked really hard on this process. I will tell you that we will be coming before you at your September 5th council briefing and giving you an update, a full update on the park master plan. And then we will have an unveiling for the draft to the public at a September 11th meeting for the park board as well. So put those dates down in your calendar, and we'll be getting that information out to the public very soon as well. So with that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. Last Thursday, I believe it was, went to Ben Franklin, the deli, to eat lunch. I ate my sandwich, and I couldn't hardly get in the place because of all of these teenage athletes that were there with their sponsors. They were here from Sacramento, California, and they were playing in a tournament. And so they made their exit out, and they were all trying to get organized out in front of Ben Franklin. And so I walked out and I said, "They tell me you're from Sacramento, is that right?" And they said, yes. And I said, "Well, I'm Mayor Green from Duncanville, and I just want to welcome you to Duncanville." And when they heard that, well, we posed for several pictures. And the fellow that was actually, I guess, the head of the program said, "We are so impressed with your city. We can't believe it. The grass is so green and the flowers are so beautiful and there's not any trash anywhere. How do you do it?" And then they wanted to know where the old train depot was, and I kind of pointed out where it was. And I said, "Well, one thing, we pray a lot." And we got 1.5 inches of rain last weekend, so that helped us out a lot. But we do have a lot of our area sprinklered, and we're proud of it. And he said, "You have a beautiful, beautiful city." So
I'm glad to hear that.
That was a comment from outsiders from California.
A lot of those kudos go to our Parks Department and our horticulture crew in particular. I will add that one of the openings that we have in our Parks Department is due to the recent retirement of a 15-year employee for Duncanville. He was on our, Terry Kelly, who was on our horticulture crew. We're going to miss him. He's left a lasting legacy with all of the improvements he's made to the horticulture aspects of Duncanville. So he'll be big shoes to fill.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And item number 6C, which is our last one, is to receive the quarterly report, quarterly report from the Public Works Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Greg Ramey, the new Director of Public Works, as introduced by Kevin earlier today. I'm just glad for the opportunity to be here, work with y'all, and serve the people of Duncanville. I actually had a chance to, I've been here since Monday, but I've had a chance to sort of go through some of the accomplishments. The first one actually was really interesting. So when I was researching Duncanville and the opportunities that I was coming on board. I actually was using this GIS maps just to sort of orient myself to the city, and again, now it's available for the public, for the citizens here, and I guess everybody who's interested in opportunities, I guess commercial, residential, otherwise, trying to come to the city. The second thing, I was able to drive this particular improvement, so it's one of our alleys as we go through. This particular instance, we replaced an old asphalt alley with a concrete reinforced to better, handle the traffic, and especially like the garbage trucks that go down there. And then we also had an opportunity. We upgraded the fuel tracking system there at the service center, sort of similar to the recreation system. It was a very old system that was no longer supported by the vendor, and it was also a standalone system that had a lot of crashes. As it got older, the new system is now wired in, it's modernized, it's able to be monitored from our regular computers, and then all the data is now put onto our server so that it's better protected from any problems. Current work plan status, so we've just been nugging through these. We have 13 plans in progress. We've finished 3. Again, the video detection is just sort of going to cameras to know when people are sitting at intersections. I'm sure y'all remember the older systems where you sort of, in the middle of the night, you got to back and forth a little bit to let the signal know you're there, and you're the only one there. The street name sign conversion work, we've completed phase 2 of 3 of, again, lighting, having the interior lighted signs for the streets. And then the sidewalk repair is just closing out an initiative from 2015. Again, we have 1 on hold, and we're just waiting for the trash, the new trash contract to get awarded to better amortize the cost of these carts for that. Again, with the railroads, we've been just trying to, again, get permission to do work on their property, and that's been a challenge for us. And then finally, we've just, just as we're working through, I know we've talked about it in some of the budget meetings. I was at the last council meeting, and we know about some of the challenges in getting some of the capital improvements done. And one of those things is we've had to push a few things into the next fiscal year and try to get it funded down the line. And then finally, these are the quarterly performance indicators that the staff has put together. Again, Public Works also encompasses the fleet maintenance, and again, just a lot of the different issues to see what's been going on sort of in the background by the staff. I'll leave this up here. You can look at that for a minute. And then finally, that concludes my brief. Is there any questions for me or anything I can bring back to my staff?
Councilmember LeBlanc.
Sir, can you go back one slide?
Oh, yes, sir. Sorry.
Right there on the certificates of occupancy issued. Is there any way we can get a breakdown of those 62?
I can definitely get that to you, sir.
Councilwoman Thomas.
Yes, I'd just like to formally welcome you to our great city.
All right.
Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
You know, the great thing about it, he came on board yesterday morning, and he came back today, so that's...
been home 6 weeks. So.
Any further questions? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, sir.
That being the last item on our agenda tonight, it is now...
I would like to answer to Council Member Leslie Thomas.
Let me close the meeting out, and then you can come up and talk, if you will.
Well, then, because I am not allowed to even say that, I anticipated that I could not talk. Then I prepared something you can read.
Okay, you can hand that out, but it's now 8:16, and we stand adjourned.